In 2014, the smartphone market was dominated by two forces, Apple and Samsung. Apple ruled the premium segment with unmatched brand loyalty and sleek design, while Samsung flooded the market with feature-packed devices to cover every price point. For an emerging Chinese company, breaking into this duopoly seemed impossible. Yet OnePlus saw an opening that neither of these giants fully addressed: the gap between performance and price. OnePlus's founders, Pete Lau and Carl Pei, had a vision. They weren't trying to be Apple. They were trying to redefine what a flagship could mean. Their mission was simple: deliver top-tier performance without top-tier pricing. While Apple customers were paying hundreds of dollars more for a brand name and Samsung users juggled features and software bloat, OnePlus focused on essentials. The OnePlus One launched at $299 with a Snapdragon processor, 3 GB of RAM, a 13-megapixel camera, and a robust battery, specifications that rivaled devices costing twice as much. What set OnePlus apart wasn't just the hardware, it was the philosophy of restraint. Unlike Apple, which controlled every aspect of user experience, or Samsung, which sometimes overwhelmed users with pre-installed apps and features, OnePlus opted for a clean, lightweight software layer, OxygenOS. It prioritized speed, simplicity, and user choice. Early adopters appreciated the honesty. Here was a phone that worked, without unnecessary extras or inflated prices. Marketing, too, broke from convention. Apple spent hundreds of millions on glossy campaigns, emphasizing status and aspiration. OnePlus, by contrast, relied on community-driven promotion. Forums, tech blogs, and social media amplified the buzz. Their invite-only system, while frustrating to some, created desire and exclusivity in a way that Apple achieved naturally with its brand prestige. The strategy wasn't to mimic Apple's marketing machinery, but to leverage scarcity and engagement to create a cult following. In regions like India, this approach hit gold. Apple was too expensive for most consumers, and Samsung's offerings were numerous but confusing. OnePlus became the rational choice, a phone that delivered premium performance without forcing buyers into an ecosystem or making them feel like they overpaid. In a few short years, OnePlus transformed from an unknown brand into a movement, proving that the market was ready for a challenger that could disrupt the traditional premium model. For the first time, it seemed possible to compete with Apple, not by copying, but by offering a smarter, more honest alternative. By 2018, OnePlus had firmly established itself as a flagship alternative to the giants. Fans loved the clean software, the excellent build quality, and the perception that they were part of an exclusive, tech-savvy community. Yet, as the company matured, subtle changes began to appear, changes that would slowly erode the very foundation of what made OnePlus special. The first sign was pricing. What once made OnePlus irresistible was its aggressive value proposition, a flagship experience at nearly half the cost of an iPhone or Galaxy S. But with the OnePlus 8 Pro and subsequent models, prices crept upward. In the UK and US, devices were now matching Samsung's pricing tiers. To loyal fans, this felt like betrayal. Suddenly, the phone that promised never settle seemed to be settling, not for less, but for the same. Software, too, began to change. OxygenOS, once praised for its simplicity and speed, started borrowing heavily from Oppo's ColorOS. Menus became busier, features multiplied, and the clean, minimalist feel slowly faded. Longtime users noticed glitches and inconsistent updates, problems that were forgivable when devices cost $300 but felt intolerable at $900. Comparisons to Apple became ironic rather than flattering. OnePlus was charging Apple prices but still struggling with software polish. The brand identity blurred further with the launch of the Nord series, a mid-range line meant to compete with Xiaomi and Samsung's budget-friendly offerings. For the first time, OnePlus was chasing both ends of the spectrum, the value-conscious buyer and the premium buyer. Fans were confused. Was OnePlus the champion of affordable flagships or a high-end competitor to Apple? Trying to be both diluted the clarity that had made OnePlus a cult favorite. Corporate shifts amplified these challenges. Carl Pei, the public face and community architect, quietly left the company in 2020 to start a new venture, Nothing. Meanwhile, Pete Lau's role shifted back toward Oppo's oversight. Under the umbrella of BBK Electronics, OnePlus was no longer fully independent. It shared hardware, R&D, and strategic direction with Oppo. To fans, it felt as if the company was losing its soul. The phone they once chose to escape Samsung or Apple was slowly becoming just another BBK device. Yet, despite these cracks, the fan base remained loyal. For now, the sense of exclusivity, the memory of earlier flagship killers, and the ongoing promise of innovation kept many users from defecting. But the warning signs were unmistakable. Brand confusion, rising prices, software drift, and leadership changes were stacking up, creating a perfect storm that threatened to undo years of hard-won goodwill. OnePlus was no longer the scrappy underdog challenging the status quo. It was flirting with the very ecosystem it once sought to disrupt. And as history would show, chasing Apple without fully understanding what made Apple successful would be a harsh lesson in humility. While OnePlus struggled to define itself globally, its strongest foothold remained India, a market where premium Android devices without iPhone pricing truly resonated. By 2023, OnePlus held around 21% of the premium Android segment, a significant chunk of its global business. India was the crown jewel, a market where fans still remembered the OnePlus One days, where community loyalty ran deep, and where the brand's never-settle ethos still held sway. However, the company's missteps began to show their consequences in stark detail. It started with the Green Line scandal, a hardware issue that affected displays. Many users reported a permanent vertical green line appearing after software updates or even with normal use. OnePlus responded with a lifetime display warranty, a move intended to reassure users but which inadvertently strained its retail partners. In India, a large portion of phone sales still occurs through offline stores, not online platforms. Retailers were suddenly forced to handle slow warranty claims, replacements, and customer complaints, all while operating on thin profit margins. The South Indian Organized Retailers Association, representing hundreds of stores, issued a strong warning: stop selling OnePlus phones from May 2024 if margins and support burdens didn't improve. Retailers were frustrated. Selling OnePlus devices now brought more work than profit. Meanwhile, competitors seized the opportunity. Google's Pixel phones launched aggressively, Samsung continued expanding its premium segment, and Xiaomi and Vivo kept chipping away at the value segment. As a result, OnePlus's market share in India nosedived from 21% in 2023 to just 6% in 2024 within the premium Android segment. Overall, phone share in India dropped from 6.1% to 3.9%, a massive blow given India's importance. It accounted for roughly 1/3 of OnePlus's global business, even as OnePlus prepared to release the Model 13T, a device designed to recapture its innovative spirit with advanced battery tech, compact design, and forum-worthy specs. The company announced limited availability, just China and India. No US launch, no Europe. This decision alienated the very markets that had built OnePlus's global reputation. For fans in the West, this sent a clear signal. OnePlus no longer prioritized its core audience. The combination of rising prices, software drift, leadership changes, and market failures created a perfect storm. The brand's image, once synonymous with flagship value and community engagement, began to erode. Customers who had once sworn by the OnePlus movement started drifting toward Apple, Samsung, and even Xiaomi, brands that promised stability, polish, and clarity. In essence, OnePlus's fall was not caused by a single failure, but by a cascade of missteps, each compounding the last. India, the market that had once elevated OnePlus, became the stage for its sharpest decline, proving that even loyal fans have limits. While India was collapsing under the weight of mismanaged warranties and retailer frustration, OnePlus's presence in global markets was equally shaky. In North America and Europe, the company's early cult following had long since waned. OnePlus had started as a disruptor, offering top-tier hardware at half the price of Samsung or Apple devices. Now, with flagship prices approaching $900 to $1,000, the perception had shifted. What was once the flagship killer was now seen as just another premium Android phone. blending into the vast BBK electronics portfolio alongside Oppo and Vivo. Leadership changes exacerbated the crisis. Co-founder Carl Pei, the public face of the community-driven brand, quietly left in 2020, later founding Nothing, a rival smartphone venture. Pete Lau's role shifted as well, dividing attention between OnePlus and Oppo. To the public, these moves signaled a loss of independence, a brand being absorbed into the larger BBK machinery rather than innovating on its own. Software, once OnePlus's signature differentiator, also began to lose its luster. OxygenOS, celebrated for its clean, light interface, slowly merged with Oppo's ColorOS. Longtime fans noticed subtle but troubling changes: more visual flair, crowded settings, and slower updates. The software that had made OnePlus feel unique was now less distinct, eroding trust and loyalty. Users who had chosen OnePlus over Samsung or Xiaomi for a fast, smooth, and uncluttered experience felt betrayed. Meanwhile, the Nord series, intended to retain the value-conscious segment, only added confusion. Was OnePlus a full-price flagship brand or a mid-range value brand? By trying to serve both segments simultaneously, the company diluted its identity. Consumers no longer knew what the brand stood for, and competitors capitalized on this uncertainty, presenting clear alternatives. By 2025, OnePlus's global market share hovered around 2 to 3%, a stark contrast to the early days of hype and excitement. Fans who once proudly championed "never settle" began to drift away. The brand that had once felt like a movement now felt like just another corporate brand, indistinguishable from Oppo or Vivo in experience and pricing. The story of OnePlus is a cautionary tale. Success built on disruption, community, and affordability can be fragile. Rapid growth without careful attention to brand identity, pricing strategy, and core audience loyalty can quickly unravel even the most passionate followings. OnePlus's rise showed the power of innovation and community-driven marketing, but its fall highlights the dangers of overexpansion, leadership shifts, and diluted value propositions. In conclusion, OnePlus's journey from flagship killer to a cautionary example underscores a simple truth. In the hyper-competitive smartphone world, authenticity, focus, and fan trust matter as much as specs and pricing. For OnePlus, the lesson is clear: never settle, not just on technology, but on what the brand promises to its audience.